Peace and conflict are central themes in the study of religion, often explored through the lens of ethical and moral teachings that seek to guide human behavior. Peace is generally understood as the absence of conflict and violence, a state where individuals, communities, and nations coexist harmoniously without fear of aggression or injustice. Peace is not merely the lack of war but also the presence of conditions that foster understanding, justice, and cooperation. It involves the resolution of disputes through dialogue and compromise rather than through force, ensuring that all parties involved feel respected and valued. The pursuit of peace is a fundamental goal for many religious traditions, which often view it as a reflection of divine will or the ultimate state of human society. A pacifist is someone who believes that all forms of violence and war are unjustifiable and that conflicts should be resolved through nonviolent means. Pacifists often base their beliefs on ethical, religious, or philosophical grounds, asserting that violence only perpetuates suffering and does not lead to true resolution or reconciliation. For example, many Christian pacifists draw inspiration from the teachings of Jesus, particularly the Sermon on the Mount, which emphasizes love for one's enemies and turning the other cheek. Pacifists advocate for peaceful methods such as negotiation, diplomacy, and civil disobedience to address and resolve conflicts. Violence, however, manifests in many different forms, ranging from physical aggression, such as war and assault, to psychological and structural violence, such as oppression, discrimination, and economic inequality. Physical violence is the most visible and often the most destructive form, leading to loss of life, injury, and widespread devastation. Psychological violence involves actions that harm an individual's mental or emotional well-being, including threats, intimidation, and harassment. Structural violence refers to social systems or institutions that disadvantage certain groups, leading to systemic inequality and injustice. All forms of violence disrupt peace and hinder the ability to resolve conflicts constructively. Wars can arise from a multitude of causes, reflecting the complex nature of human societies and interactions. Economic interests, such as control over resources or trade routes, often drive conflicts between nations or groups. Political power struggles, whether between rival factions within a country or between different nations, also frequently lead to war. Ideological differences, including disputes over religious beliefs, cultural values, or national identity, can fuel tensions that escalate into violent conflict. Additionally, historical grievances and territorial disputes often contribute to the outbreak of wars, as groups seek to reclaim land or assert dominance over others. The causes of war are rarely simple, often involving a combination of these factors, and are deeply rooted in human history and the structures of society. Despite the destructive nature of war, many people believe in the concept of a just war, a war that is morally or legally justified under certain conditions. The idea of just war has a long history, particularly in Christian theology, where it has been developed to reconcile the need for peace with the reality of conflict. According to just war theory, a war can be considered just if it meets specific criteria, such as being fought for a legitimate cause, being declared by a lawful authority, and being waged with the right intention, primarily to restore peace and order. Additionally, a just war must be a last resort, pursued only after all peaceful alternatives have been exhausted, and must be conducted with proportionality, meaning that the violence used must be proportional to the threat and must avoid harm to civilians whenever possible. This framework provides a moral guideline for evaluating whether the use of force is permissible in a given situation. Holy wars are a specific type of conflict where those who fight believe they are supported by divine authority. Participants in holy wars are often motivated by religious convictions, believing that their actions are sanctioned or even commanded by God. These wars are typically fought to defend or spread a particular faith, protect religious communities, or reclaim sacred lands. The Crusades, for example, were a series of religious wars initiated by Christians in the medieval period, driven by the belief that they were carrying out God's will to reclaim Jerusalem and other holy sites from Muslim control. For those engaged in holy wars, the sense of divine support provides a powerful justification for their actions, often reinforcing their commitment and willingness to sacrifice for their cause. In Christianity, the call to be peaceful is deeply rooted in the teachings of Jesus and the broader ethical principles of the faith. Christians are taught to seek peace and to live in harmony with others, reflecting the belief that all people are created in the image of God and deserve to be treated with dignity and respect. The New Testament, particularly the teachings of Jesus, emphasizes love, forgiveness, and reconciliation as key virtues. Jesus' instruction to love your enemies and blessed are the peacemakers highlights the importance of striving for peace even in the face of conflict. Many Christians believe that being peaceful is not only a moral duty but also a way to live out their faith, embodying the principles of compassion, mercy, and justice that are central to the Christian gospel. Peace is seen as a reflection of God's kingdom on earth, a state that believers are called to work towards in their personal lives and in the wider world.